Hey, good afternoon, everybody, here on a Monday morning. It's Jim Sinacropi sitting in for Harold Weber. It's another edition of Weber This Week. On Super Monday, it was a great game, maybe one of the best Super Bowls I can remember. I like the time the Giants beat the Pats, but anytime I think the Pats lose, it's a pretty good Super Bowl. Great game. I actually won a Super Bowl square, so even better. And we have a perfect show on tap today because we have a couple high school football officials in studio. They're going to talk about recruitment. Maybe you thought about becoming a high school football referee. You're going to learn how and what it takes and the process you have to go through. It's really not as difficult as you think, and it's a great way, I think, to get involved with high school sports if you have a passion for that kind of thing. So we're going to talk to Dan Miller and Doug Roll coming up here, and I'm also going to get some of their opinions on maybe some of the. It seems like this NFL football season, there's been so much focus on the rules, the catch rule and instant replay and all that stuff. So we're going to talk about that from that perspective. So it's going to be a good show, even though the web dog's not here. So I guess without further ado, I'd like to welcome in Dan Miller and Doug Roll. They serve Section 5 and Section 4. I think you guys do some college too.
I do college.
Yeah. So welcome. How you doing?
How you doing? Good.
Good. Thanks for having us.
So let me ask you. Every single game, there's an instant replay call on a catch that influences the game somehow. And there was a couple of them last night in the Super Bowl. And even Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth weren't able to, properly understand what was going on. And I know there's a difference if you're a wide receiver making a catch or a running back crossing the plane in the end zone. And I know that it's going to be something that they try to rectify in the offseason, maybe clarify a little more. But from your perspective as high school football officials, I guess you don't have the luxury of instant replay. Are you glad that there's not somebody overlooking your shoulder, What do you think?
There is no instant replay at all. And, the call happens to be on the field. Hopefully, in a varsity game, there's 5 of us on the field. Mm-hmm. We have our keys we're looking at, and we call it the triangle. We try to get all the angles, and sometimes you'll see the officials run to each other to communicate, make sure that they got the call right, or, what do we have? Do you have a catch? Do you have them in your hands and that stuff? And I know some fans get a little impatient sometimes, like, what's taking so long, make the call. But that's how we try to make it correct in a high school game.
You just have the 10 sets or the 5 sets of eyes.
That's it.
Right.
And so you collaborate and try to get it right.
Yeah. We have a rule that's when in doubt, and if any of the officials are in doubt, then it's not a catch.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
So, in high school too, the rules for making a catch and going to the ground, though, are the same. Mm-hmm. You still have to have possession of the ball when you hit the ground.
Yeah.
So
that's important.
So when the NFL makes a rule change with something like what constitutes a catch, does that force college football and then high school football organizations to kind of reevaluate, or do you take the lead from them, or do you kind of take things yourself? And actually, who makes the rules in high school football like that when there's rule changes?
Well, there's a national board that takes care of that, and there's rule changes every year, but most of them are for safety reasons in high school. But yes, when the NFL or college starts to make a rule change, there'll be some type of form of it, maybe 3, sometimes 4 years later, down to the high school level.
Yeah.
Right. And Dan mentioned safety. That's a big one we've seen in the last number of years. With the the knowledge base on concussions having grown. What we see as officials are a lot of rule changes relative to protecting the players.
Yeah.
That's really the biggest thing we see. The basic elements of the game, you very rarely see that change, like what constitutes a catch and those things. It seems like the pro game tinkers with that more than we do.
Yeah, well, and one reason why might be because when you're watching an NFL game and you see a play on instant replay that clearly the officials got wrong, it's kind of frustrating. And so I think to some regard, instant replay has been good, but I think it's gone too far now to the point where Personally, I thought last night both those catches by the Eagles, the one running back starts with a C. Clements and the other in Zach Ertz, I thought they were both touchdowns. It's almost like, I think I heard on Mike and Mike this morning, or what is it, Wingo and Golick show now, that so a guest said, you know what the rule should be? Just have a room full of 6-year-olds and let them say, did he catch it or not? If they say yes, then it's a catch. So it seems like they went.
Of course, in high school, you only have to have 1 foot in bounds.
Yeah.
So that makes a big difference, And, I think the instant replay, because you can freeze it to such slow motion, the game is so quick. And especially when you're doing the college levels and on up, it's such a quick game. It's really hard sometimes to make that instant call. I mean, you have to make a call, though. You have to make a call.
And I think that 90% of the time the officials get it right on the field. And one thing that was frustrating with a couple calls this season in the NFL is that the officials did call it one way on the field, and it didn't seem like there was indisputable evidence to overturn it, but they did anyways. So I like the human element a little bit. I think if somebody gets something egregiously wrong, correct it. But when it's a close call, I think you got to stand by the officials on the field unless there's clear, indisputable evidence. And I think that's where they kind of trick themselves up a little bit. They don't really leave enough to the officials on the field to make those calls. So how do you guys evaluate your performance in a high school or college game now? Do you ever go back and look at tape? And I know that the coaches grade the officials, but do you guys ever kind of review how you guys did in an individual game?
Yeah, coaches grade us on our games, and they evaluate us 1 to 5, and they send that in. There are a lot of coaches have video to them, and they'll send it to us, and we use that in our chapter meetings to, it's an educational tool. Mm-hmm. We're getting more around a huddle. The coaches now are using that.
Yeah.
All the schools have that. We're really just getting started with that this year to go through that. Our games aren't always videotaped, and sometimes it's not the greatest quality.
Sure.
I do college, and that videotape is much better, but and they have it cut and professionally done, and it's sent to us, and I get to see every game I do every week, and someone else is also checking it out and giving me a grade on what I might have missed or could have done better or what I did good. But there are some coaches that really take a lot of time and give us a lot of good feedback with film to help us get better.
Yeah, and we're going to institute this year in our chapter, right? We're going to be instituting Huddle. So we'll actually have
just so people know,
access.
Huddle is a service that coaches upload their film to, and then they can share it with their team or their parents. Right. And sometimes there's services that even do the stats on the game for them. But some of these coaches are giving you guys access?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, another thing we do, generally I referee or the head official in the game, and Dan is too. And so we have a pregame that we do before every game. We usually started about an hour and a half before the kickoff. And one of the things that we always try to do is to go over kind of, what we've heard in the meeting, the issues that guys have had, or in this case, we have a woman official this year, so it's pretty good. But we want to make sure that we learn as a chapter, everybody needs to get better. And we try in the pregame to talk about it. And actually what's really good is the crew will bring up issues they've had, calls that they missed, calls that they should have made, questions. So it's really pretty interactive, and we have a great bunch that isn't judgmental on each other. We're all trying to get better.
Yeah.
So what's great about that is, if I knew I missed a call or another guy missed a call the following week, we'd all talk about it.
Yeah.
It's how you learn.
So as we get to towards talking about recruitment and if folks out there are interested in becoming involved with officiating, is there a sense of camaraderie amongst the ranks of the high school officials? Do you work together with the same guys? How many different folks do you guys work with in the course of a season?
Well, our chapter has around 60, 65 guys. And unfortunately, that's about 10 to 15 too short. It sounds like a big number, but it's not. You get 60, 65 guys in one room. We're all from different backgrounds, all different beliefs, and it turns into one big brotherhood. We see each other off seasons. New friends are there. It's great. We ride to the games together.
Yep.
We look forward to that. Other sports that we hear that guys just meet at the games and get it over. We kind of go out of our way so we can ride to the games and and then we go out and have a sandwich afterwards. And it is camaraderie. You're spending a lot of time, like Doug said. We're there on a varsity game an hour and a half before, if not longer, and you do a game. And for me personally, it's therapeutic. On a Friday, your work week was hectic, and you finally meet up with a bunch of guys. You talk football and stuff on the way there. You're in a locker room, and it's you're talking every aspect of the game. You're explaining rules, defining rules, and you do a game, and you get off that game. You're a little tired. You take a shower and go have a sandwich, and it's. All those things you had happen all during the week are gone. It's a great stress reliever. Yeah,
that's cool.
And Dan mentioned camaraderie. I've been doing it since 1983, and I've made friends for life on it, and that's the way it is. It's what's nice about it is that you get to know guys outside of the game, so you're not afraid or fearful if you say, "Hey, Dan, you didn't." That call you made on that, coin toss wasn't really the right way to do it. I wouldn't be afraid to talk to Dan about that because I know him really well.
Yeah, and you're all trying to get it right as a crew.
Because it is a team. You mentioned we have 5 on a a varsity game. And we only have 3 on a junior varsity game. It's pretty.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. So
but everybody has to be a team player, right?
Sure.
So if you have 1 out of the 5 that aren't doing their part, it really makes it hard for everybody.
Do you find that the crews will they'll take a certain crew and try to keep them together? Do you get graded as a crew?
No, we don't stay as a crew. We're positioned. There's the coaches can pick, and that's changing this year. But there was a draw, and they could pick 3 out of the 5, and they have a draw that way. So we're always kind of different. We have our positions that we are in. So a lot of times Doug and I will not be together, but I am also an umpire, and then we'll catch maybe 1 game or 2.
Yeah. So
you don't get to see the same guys every week, but you move around, you get to see everyone pretty much.
Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk all about how you can get involved if this is something that you're interested in. I certainly know a lot of guys that have done it over the years. Carlo Lorenzetti comes to mind as one, and Kevin Sharp, who's been calling games for FL1 Sports here on our high school basketball coverage, is also a high school football referee. So we're going to step aside here for a couple minutes, and when we come back, we'll talk about how you can become a high school football referee if you're interested.
Acting as a gateway to the Finger Lakes, Del Lago leverages the natural beauty and unique offerings while enhancing tourism in the region. The casino features 2,000 slot machines, 89 gaming tables, including 12 poker tables, portico by Fabio Viviani, a 2,400-person entertainment center, farmers market buffet. The hotel, spa, and banquet facility will open summer 2017. Cayuga Lake National Bank. Visit Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora, a fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquor on Bridge Street in Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her team will find the right spirit for you every time. When you stop in, tell Amy the dog sent you. The Gould Hotel welcomes you to come out and enjoy the revitalization of this historic downtown Seneca Falls landmark. Every Wednesday is Ladies' Night with special price drinks and half-priced appetizers. The Omen Theater on William Street in Lyons. See what's playing this week at omentheater.com. Located off New York State Thruway Exit 41, the Magee Diner has earned their reputation as a popular family restaurant, serving country fresh home-cooked meals daily. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and check out their menu at MageeDiner.com. The Child Advocacy Center of the Finger Lakes is a child-friendly location where allegations of physical or sexual abuse are responded to by a multidisciplinary team of professionals. The team works together to conduct a thorough investigation and to provide necessary support services to children and their non-offending caregivers with a goal of minimizing further trauma to a child. Seneca Metals is an award-winning company that has earned a reputation of going above and beyond to protect the environment and support their community. As an EPA inspector once said, their operation is head and shoulders above the rest. And the Newark Pilots of the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, a minor league team with a major league ballpark. Season ticket packages available at NewarkPilots.com. And the Wilson Press in Seneca Falls. My good pal Rich Rickey and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Visit them online at wpress.com.
All right, welcome back inside the FingerLakes1.com studio. Jim Sinacropi sitting in for the web dog. He'll be back next Monday. We've got Dan Miller and Doug Roll, Finger Lakes High School football officials in studio. We've been talking about the Super Bowl and the catch rule and what it's like to be a high school football official. And so now we're going to find out, if you're interested maybe in pursuing that path, they need officials. We mentioned that they have about 60 in their organization. They could use about 15 or 20 more. There's a lot of games across the Finger Lakes region and Rochester, Section 5, Section 4, and there's a lot of opportunity for you if you wanted to become involved. So, fellas, what would be the first step if someone listened and was interested?
The first step really, you can go to our website, flfoa and .org, and there's a contact there, and you can go there, and it'll hit 4 of us with emails, and we'll contact you back really quick. That's probably the first thing is getting your name in and we get going. We were talking off air a little bit, but why we're talking now is because it is tough to get recruits. In football season, our board is meeting right now. We have a spring meeting. We're getting things ready for the chapter. The end of July is the start of our meetings. We have an informational meeting. Usually it's like the week after 4th of July. And that, we get face-to-face and get talking and hand out rule books and explain, what type of uniform and equipment that you'll need. There's quite a bit to it in the first year, and it's overwhelming for some people.
Sure.
But we try to make it as easy, simple. We help you with it. We kind of take it in little pieces, so it's not a big thing. But there is a little upfront cost to it for uniform.
But you guys get paid.
And we do get paid,
game,
absolutely.
So, okay.
And if you want to work a couple Sundays, you pretty much will get your money back. We have a fingerprinting process that the schools require us for that. There's money up front, but after you take the fingerprint and you pass, you get half of that back, and then if you stay for the next year, you get the other half back from our chapter. But it takes a lot right at that first beginning of the season to get going for a first-year guy or gal, because we had a gal last year. So it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, whether you played the game or not. You just got to have a passion to be out there to be officiating. It does help if you know the game a little bit. Background, but that's what we have a training committee for. We meet a few meetings beforehand, before the main chapter, and we run over the kicking game with definitions of rules. I know I've been doing this is my 20th year, and I remember the first time I was in and I opened up a rule book. I said, man, I thought I knew football, and wow, these are different. But try not to scare people off. It is a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of guys in our chapter who will help to make it easier for you. We have learned too, everyone's busy, their schedules. I would love to have someone say, yes, I can be ready and do anything you want, but that doesn't happen. We all have families and work lives and community things going on. But we can adjust to schedules. There's games usually 5 days a week sometimes during the season. And, some guys can't get out of work, or some people work, every other weekends. And we can accommodate for that. To get a schedule and playing games for that. But
just to pick up on some of the things Dan mentioned on, it can be overwhelming, and when you first get into the rules, as Dan said, we have a really huge number of dedicated officials that want to help the new officials, and we have it's really a neat thing. We have we call it a junior varsity scrimmage or a youth football scrimmage. And I think more than half of our chapter comes to it, of our experienced officials. And so what we'll do is we'll shadow a brand new or even a second or third year official, right, and step by step work with them. As the scrimmage is going on, we'll shadow them. They'll shadow us. So we just don't throw people out there and say, hey, let's see what you can do. It's really a very organized, stepwise approach and a repetitive approach. And things that are more important to focus on, we focus on first. We mentioned Sundays, and you can work a lot of Sundays. We do the youth football in the area, Vince Lombardi football. That's a great training ground. Right. We have 4 officials on that game, and there are 3 games at 3 different levels. So there's 3 different games. So very quickly you start to get the exposure, because the bottom line is you need to get the experience to start to get the self-confidence. You have to learn the rules. But you have to also know, we call it mechanics. They're the mechanics of the game. And then what we also do is we do a mechanics clinic, where we actually will go to, and we went to Lions last year. Yeah, we have been going to Waterloo's field, and we go right on the field and go through the mechanics. And with the new folks, a bunch of us will go over and we'll go every step of using the chains. How do you mark a first down? What are the appropriate signals?
So we really, where you're supposed to be on the field during play.
Exactly. So, we've had varying success with this over the years, and we always talk about doing more of it. But, a lot of us try to go to some of the games that the newer officials are doing, and then we'll provide them feedback. In fact, though, every game we do as an experienced official with a junior official, we actually write up a report or a feedback. And we give that to the trainer, and we give that to the new official. And so it's all trying to be constructive on the things they need to work on. So we have, because we don't have a lot of officials, our newer officials, the ones that have really picked up and gotten really good very quickly, they've actually done varsity games more quickly than what we've done in the past. In fact, they've done them after their second year.
Some of them, second year.
Only 2 years, and they're doing a varsity game. And we're not going to do it unless we feel they're ready for it.
Right.
But
there's also different roles as well, right? So there's 5 people on a varsity game. You got the head referee, I assume, and then what are the other roles?
We have 2 wingmen, or the linesman, and the head linesman and the line judge.
Okay.
And then we have a back judge, and then we have the umpire behind the defense.
Okay. So
we have 5 officials.
Which would be the slot that a new recruit would fill first?
Generally, we put them on the wings. On the wings. So they're the ones worrying about spotting the ball.
Yep.
What's the out of bounds spot is. So that is going to include a lot of signals. Timeout signals, first down signals, being able to move the chains appropriately, because you can get fouled up on the chains even if you're an experienced official.
Yeah.
Moving the down markers. But generally we'll put them on the wings. And part of it is it develops character. One thing I've always thought about officiating, it's a great life character building thing, because you really have to learn to kind of block everything out. Just worry about the game, worry about doing it fairly, doing the rules, not listening to the coaches, to the fans, to the players. And so it actually builds a lot of character. Now we put our new officials out right on the wings to listen to those coaches.
Yeah, they're right.
So
They're right there.
they start to build character right away, right?
Well, at least the fans are usually back a little in football. I feel bad sometimes at a high school basketball game because they're right there, man. Yeah, I got a lot of respect for anybody who's willing to officiate any sport like that because you do put yourself out there a little bit. You have to have confidence in yourself, obviously, and you have to be willing to try to get better, I think. And so that sounds like one of the things that you guys are really been working on personally and as a group just to try to get everybody else better because I think a great refereeing crew, they make the game move along and they make it the players decided on the field, and it's a great way to get involved for anyone out there who's watching that wants to get involved in high school athletics. I think it's a great way to do it, and to if you stay in shape, you run a little bit right out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big
do
field.
A little workout. Yeah,
you do.
So now we got a couple minutes left here. Again, that website is www.flfoa.org. Let me get that up there on the screen for you again. That's a good place to get started if you're interested. And you mentioned too the high school football season's long since been over, but spring, summer, and then it's back again. And so if you're interested, now would be the time to do it. Is there anything else you guys would like to throw in before we get out of there?
Well, You watch a Sunday game and you might say, "Oh, geez, how do you become an NFL football official?" And and it starts right here in high school. There's every level needs officials, and we're a feeder program, believe it or not, for the NFL. If you really think that big about it, and we have many guys that do Division III college in the New York State, and we have now even from our chapter Division I officials. And so if you're ever thought about how do you become an NFL official,
this is where you start.
This is where we start.
How do they choose? How do you elevate to that point where you might want to make the jump?
There's a lot a lot of work. It's time, and each level there's a more commitment of time. Yeah. And every level seems to have more testing, more studying. And then you're graded more by officials and outside sources. So, but our chapter's had quite a few successful officials going up through the ranks, and it's pretty proud of a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, you really need to, if you're going to get into the college ranks, you really need to start at our level.
Yeah,
right.
It's extremely difficult to go, and I think, I did it for myself. I did it for 6 years. There's an interview process. You have to show your resume, your record of games you did. You also have to get an endorsement from an existing college official. So really, if you're going to get into the college ranks, you got to start with us.
Yeah, right.
And what's neat about it is the college officials that keep doing college, a large majority of them still do high school, which says a lot. And honestly, I've done both. The college game is much quicker, but there's nothing like kind of the Friday night
lights.
It really is nothing like it.
Yeah.
Even as I'm talking, I'm getting goosebumps here because it's a great feeling. You're out there kind of in our hometowns. And I always love it. You listen to the national anthem, and you get a local person is singing the national anthem.
Yeah,
and then you're out there to make sure they play fair. And we don't even. Most of the time, I'm not even aware of what the score is unless I look at my card. We don't think about that stuff. All we care about is, hey, let's just have a good, fair game and have a really good, fun game. So people on the outside looking into us, they have to understand there's so much more to it than the rules, and the regimented part of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of fun.
And one thing I did want to mention about, a lot of us have uniforms. A number of extra uniforms. Some of us have retired. Some of us have gone off to college and other things. But there's also ways to get equipment, uniforms, equipment that's surplus, that's less expensive than. So when people get into this, it might be on the order of $100 or so to buy equipment, but the chapter helps out with some of that, with using.
And it's an investment too, like you said. You guys are getting paid per game out there, and so if you work, it's a nice way to earn some extra bucks on top of everything else. So, well, hey, I appreciate you guys coming in and talking to me. We'll talk a little football here on the day after football season officially ended, and it really is interesting because I know a lot of folks have probably thought, geez, how could I do that? How could I become a football referee? I mean, I'm sure that there's a similar path of entry for all high school athletics for officials, but football is certainly one of the more intricate, I guess. There's just a lot to the game of football, rules-wise and procedurally, and so thanks for coming in and sharing that with us.
Well, we appreciate you having us. Thank you.
So Harold will be back next Monday, normal time at 3 o'clock. I should know his guest, but I can't tell you. But check out the front page of FingerLakes1.com. Over the weekend, we'll see who's coming in here next Monday. So until then, I'm Jim Sinacropi for the Web Dog. Have a great week, everybody, here in the Finger Lakes, and we'll be back next Monday at 3 o'clock.